Good evening and welcome to the June 8th, 2023 meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Brodsky. Here. Rothman. DePlacido.
Here.
Vaughn. Weingrod.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Zapone. Here. Carswell.
Here.
Spiegelman.
Here.
Bowl.
Here.
Schreiber.
Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Vice President Beatty.
Here.
President Hecker.
Here. Please note that Commissioner Vaughn is excused this evening. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I have a few announcements this evening. We'll start with number one. We will not be taking action on agenda item D in new business this evening. After speaking with the police department this afternoon, that is no longer necessary. Number two, the public information session scheduled for June 15th on the comprehensive plan is going to be rescheduled to a later date, and I'm going to ask Manager Manfredi to provide the detail.
Thank you, President Hecker. Yes, as a result of that meeting and our request for public comment, we continue to receive public comments, so we would like to postpone that June 15th meeting to a later date, so that we can continue to receive comments. We would ask for those comments to come in by June 15th, and then the plan would be to have all of those comments that have come in and then have some thoughtful responses to them, so we can actually put on the website a comment and response document so you can see what comments were made and what the responses are to those comments. And then when we have the next session, everyone will have had, anyone who wants an opportunity to read the comments and see a thoughtful reply by whether it's Simone Collins or Mr. Narkowicz or anyone else, depending upon the comments, that'll provide us time to do that. Okay. So it's just a postponement so that we can make sure that all comments are taken and addressed when we meet again. And as soon as that date is finalized, we're thinking somewhere in mid-July,
okay.
mid to end July.
So we'll publicize that on all of our social media channels.
E-newsletter, everywhere.
Okay, thank you. And the third and final announcement I have is that the public health concern related to air quality remains an issue for our township, and I was going to ask Mr. McEnany to come up and just address what's going on in the community. Yeah, why don't you just wait 1 second, Tom? They're putting some chairs out. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. So the good news is our air quality has improved from hazardous to merely unhealthy. A little joke there, but no, actually, there is a little bit of good news. It is heading in the right direction. There's no guarantee that another downdraft couldn't push more smoke our way, but the air quality index as of 4 p.m. when I wrote my notes was at 169. That's down from 9 a.m. when I first started looking at it, when it was 195, and last night it hit 447 at 10 p.m. So last night was not a good night to be out running or walking the dog. But even right now, it's listed as hazardous or a code red on their color index. Yeah. And that's considered unhealthy for everybody, not just people with certain conditions, but it's especially unhealthy for people with heart or lung conditions, older adults, children, and teens. So really, until the air quality improves, people should take steps to reduce their exposure outside. They should be, as much as possible, remain indoors with the doors and windows closed. If you can, use a fan to recirculate the air versus using your central air conditioning. They do have filters on them, but they're not HEPA-type filters to take out all of those particulate. If you do have to be outdoors, avoid strenuous activities if you can. And if you are outdoors and you have to remain outdoors and you have any of those conditions, consider an N95 particulate type mask if you have to be out there for long periods of time. If you're having trouble breathing, feeling dizzy, feeling nauseous, make sure to seek medical attention, call 911. It's not something that you want to mess around with. And everything I'm reading, the forecasters believe the air quality will continue to improve through the weekend. Tomorrow, they are forecasting us to be in the 51 to 100 range, which is considered moderate. Given the area we live in, and moderate is somewhat normal on a given day. So we're heading in the right direction. That said, it could change based on the winds, and those fires are still out, really burning out of control in Canada to this point.
For sure.
And then while I'm here, I'm going to touch on a little fire safety, if you could, because I won't take up much time, but a lot of you may have read that May has been one of the driest on record. The last significant precipitation we had was May 20th, which is 2.5 weeks ago. So, and earlier this week, we experienced several days of red flag days, and that's when the state or the county say that you shouldn't be doing any sort of open burning, things like that. Red flag is when the weather conditions are good for spread of wildfire, and it's not something you think about in a dense suburban area, but it happens here as much as anywhere. Grass can take off, it goes to a tree, and then it spreads to a house. So while we're not in a red flag condition right now, I just wanted to give some tips. People, whether they're using fire pits, barbecue grills, avoid using the fire pits during these times if you can, but if you have to, make sure it's in an open area, not under any sort of, same with barbecues, under any sort of canopies, not too close to the house, not too close to the tree, have a water source available to quickly extinguish it, and only burn seasoned hardwood, not construction grade lumber, fresh cut pine, things like that. They set off a lot of embers, which can set off these grass fires. And then last, don't hesitate to call the fire department if you need it.
Thank you.
Anybody has any questions?
No, I appreciate the update. I will point out, for those who are interested, the EPA has an app called Air Now, which is available both on Android and iOS, where you download it, you plug in your zip code, and it will give you real-time information about the various components of the air quality.
That's where I took most of my information.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McEnany. All right, we will now move to public comment on agenda items before the board this evening. If there is anyone here present who wishes to speak about matters on the agenda, please come forward.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane in Meadowbrook, Ward 1. So the shade tree plan is on tonight, and I want to thank Trish Gallagher for fighting for that, literally to get it on the plan and into service, because it is, like some other plans, very, very, very important. But one of the things that's very distressing, and thank you all for working on your notes and looking down at your phones and doing everything else while I'm talking, because nothing that I say is important. You're not going to do anything about it, so it's okay. Go ahead, text your wife, whatever you're doing, okay? Not a problem. So what I want to say is these plans are important. We're working on the comprehensive plan right now that should have been worked on for 2 years, but it was yanked out of the comprehensive plan committee meetings for months. And we couldn't work on it because they told us it was going to change, and so nothing in it was valid. Okay, so then we got it May 25th. It was thrown at us with no guidelines, and the people in the township were supposed to create this very important plan, the most important part, most of us think, of the whole comprehensive plan. And so the way it's being done, I'm glad that we're moving it past June 15th, but there's no way that whenever it shows up, it should be once and done. When we see what they think we said, we should then have an opportunity again to say, no, that's not what we meant. Okay, let's look at it again. So, Mr. Manfredi, thank you for moving it back. And now let's please also put time together for us to see it later. And the thing that's so distressing here is we're looking at the shade tree plan tonight. We're working on the comprehensive plan. On Tuesday, I think it is, the strategic plan is coming up. And on Wednesday, the Parks and Rec plan, all voluminous, right? The Parks and Rec plan is coming up, very important to many people in this township. Even if you're busy on your phones and stuff, for us, it's very important, okay? And what we have on top of that is the HUD plan. And the HUD plan has been misused in ways I can't even begin to tell you, okay? So we need to get lots of eyeballs on that. But how easy is it to get eyeballs when in 7 working days we have 7 major plans coming up to pass? This is not okay. And in fact, while Mr. Manfredi's doing it, even he and his staff can't keep up with this breakneck pace. I think, Mr. Hecker, you know that 1209 Rydell Road did not have the proper protocols. It didn't go to the Planning Commission as it was supposed to go because we were too busy with too many things.
I'll ask
Who
you to
was
wrap up your
overseeing
comments,
that?
Ms. Lehman.
My time's up, I'll bet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward.
Hello, hi everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Karen Milovich. I live in Drew Rothman's district. I'm in the Hollywood section. We're at 529 Berkeley, my husband and I. I come to talk to you because we have some medical things here that I just want to draw to your attention. And I just want to kind of create an illusion for you. If you were on an airplane and you were 125% booked, you're not going to have a good flight. Well, we're 125% booked over here in Abington. We're the 10th most populated city in Pennsylvania. We have more people per square mile. PA has 290 people per square mile. Modco has 1,762 per square mile. And Abington has 4,363 people per square mile. We're an overbooked airplane. Please, I beg you to look at not only our zoning, but please work with our other townships, be it Huntington Valley, Lower Moreland, Upper Moreland. Because a structure is 20 feet away does not mean it's not going to use the same services. I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner with 20 years experience, and I look at your hospital beds. You have 1,100 beds between Abington, Jeans, and Holy Redeemer. That's not enough for all of these people. In a 5-mile Abington radius, you have 65,590 people over 65 at this point, and they're 40% more likely to use a hospital. So that means if you or your relatives, you might come to Abington and need a cardiac catheterization, something in which time counts. You might not get it because somebody is on that table. You might need an ambulance. My grandmother died in the city of Philadelphia. We were performing CPR. It was called in as a code. They didn't have a medic unit available, so I got a policeman and a fireman. They resuscitated her heart, but her brain was dead. We had to take her off the ventilator, and I don't want anyone here to experience that. We have 8-hour waits in our ER. We have an attrition of providers. They're leaving, they're retiring. A lot of people are going to something called a concierge practice, which means you have to pay $5,000 or $10,000 to get care. Many and most people here don't have that kind of money. So insurance is an issue for people, and getting care is an issue. And if you add more people, you're going to have even more problems that we already have. There's a bill-in process called HB 106, which means we need a certain amount of nursing staffing per patient. And while that's a wonderful patient safety thing, it might mean that your unit might close. So that's an issue. I see all kinds of mental health and stress issues with all of the traffic. I see road rage. So that's an issue. And also an issue of disease. We have diseases coming back like polio, TB. There's probably, who knows if we have another pandemic coming along. So what are you going to do when you jam all these people in a tight space? They're going to transmit to each other pretty quickly. Mental health, we don't have anything for families here. We don't have a YMCA. We don't even have diners that families can go to and get a good meal. So if you ask what we want, we need a couple diners. We need a movie theater. I know a bowling alley doesn't bring in a lot of money, but it makes families happy, and it's a place that people can congregate and have community time and family time.
I'll ask you to wrap up your comments.
Okay? I just ask you to consider the citizens, and I want you to consider their health as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there others present in the room that wish to speak to matters on the agenda? If not, we'll see. Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak?
Sandy Trevor, you're unmuted. Sandy, you may talk.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Wait, we have one.
Wait. There is one.
Kay Burton, you're unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you can see me.
No.
It's just a black screen. Okay, so I can see sort of the room where all of you are in when that's black. But anyway, as long as you can hear my voice, I think that should suffice. I have been here, and I just moved to the community of Abington Township recently. I want to say 2 years ago now. I'm a Philadelphia firefighter. I work in the Northeast. I have a 20-minute commute from my job to work and back. I have very, very nice neighbors. I live in a very nice neighborhood. I'm married. I have 2 little boys, 9 and 3 years old. And we moved here from Philadelphia for a reason. We moved here because it's a safe community. They have a great school district for my boys. I have an autistic son. We have been getting very good care for him and tutelage for him. And I'm very happy with the community that I'm in, my neighbors, my home. And what I want is for our community to not just stay safe, but I want our community to be what it is. It's a community where people can grow up and pass on their generational wealth, their homes, and pass it down to their families. And that's what, this community should be about. I moved from Philadelphia to get away from just the urban life and the hustle and bustle and the loud noises and the motorcycles and the crime. And I want to keep it that way. And so when you have people who come here and they don't necessarily have, because you just want to build more buildings and you want to just crowd in more people, well, you're turning a beautiful community and what was a safe community, you're just putting people together. Just like the previous lady stated before, we want a safe community. We want people to come here, but we want people to enjoy the atmosphere. We want people to enjoy the amenities of what Abington has to offer, in Montgomery County in general, and any of the other suburban counties. That's why people move here and they bring their children and families, because they want to feel like it's safe here. And that's all I want. I want for everybody to feel like it's safe here. And I feel like there are people here, people who just want a money grab and build and build and build on every available spot of land. I think that's just greedy. Like, we should be thinking about what we're going to use this land for, not build more apartment complexes, not to just push in more people. I think we need to think about that before we make these decisions for the future of people who live in Abington in particular, because those are the people that are going to be affected. And I think we just need to look at it in a more holistic way. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, we're good? Okay. So we will now turn to the consent agenda, and for that, I will turn over to Board Vice President Matt Behe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for passage of the consent agenda, items A and B. And I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Make an objection and interruption under Sunshine Law 710C1, and that is to say, under 710C1 of the Sunshine Law, interruption, and that is to say that our speaking rights are taken away when you create a false thing called a consent agenda and put things separately, all to be approved at once, okay? So we really should have full speaking rights on all agenda items because there are too many for us to be able to have proper rights on those issues. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda carries. We have no unfinished business this evening, so we will move on to new business. And once again, I will turn this over to Board Vice President Matt Vahey.
First item of new business is BOC-02060823. It's a consideration of a resolution to fill a vacancy on the Board of Commissioners for Ward 6. And I so move.
Second?
Okay, the matter has been moved and seconded. As we announced last month, Commissioner Thompson resigned because he moved to a different area of the township, and we opened up for applications from interested residents of Ward 6. We received 2 applications, and so I will open the floor for nominations this evening. Vice President Vahey,
Mr. President, I would nominate Mr. Jeffrey Brown to fill a vacancy in Ward 6.
is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none?
Got it. Laura Lehman, I'd like to interrupt again under
Okay.
Sunshine Law.
Solicitor Clark, could we?
No, this is completely out of line.
No,
This is going to give, the speaker is just going now to attempt to get up and comment on every agenda
Yeah.
item when there has been no violation of the
So,
Sunshine Act.
well, let me explain.
Your objection
The
is,
Sunshine Law allows me to interrupt and explain what the violation is. This item did not come before any committee meeting, like many now these days, and we did not have a chance to know what you were going to do with this item, literally. That's all
Solicitor
it
Clark, could
says.
you-
So we
That is
should
not a
have a
proper
right to
objection
know
under the
that
Sunshine
before
Law.
we
Not a-
speak.
that is not a proper objection under the Sunshine Act.
Well, our speaking rights are removed if we
Not
don't
about
know
you.
what you're doing with the
You're
item.
arguing that you weren't part of the process. That's not a proper objection under the Sunshine Act.
So, okay.
Okay, so the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we now need to reread the resolution.
Okay. I move for passage of a resolution to fill the vacancy on the Board of Commissioners for Ward 6 with Mr. Jeffrey Brown. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. We should now proceed with the swearing in. Just gonna join him.
All right, sir, please repeat after me. After I say "I," please state your name. I
Jeffrey Brown,
do swear that I will support,
do swear that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
With fidelity. Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome, Commissioner Brown. Okay. I will now turn back to Vice President Matt Vahey for the remainder of the new business items.
Thank you. Next item in new business is BOC-03060823. Motion to affirm the existing wards as contiguous, compact, and as nearly equal as practicable, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
And the last item of new business is BOC-04060823. Motion to accept the Master Tree Action Plan and refer to the Strategic Planning and Comprehensive Plan Consistency Committees, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
And that concludes the new business this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Vice President Vahey. We'll now turn to matters of the Finance Committee, and for that, we will turn to Finance Committee Chair Stuart Weingrad.
Thank you, President Hecker. First item, agenda item FC 01060823, motion to approve the April 2023 expenditures in the amount of $2,899,970.91, and salaries and wages in the amount of $2,151,829.72, and authorizing the proper officials to sign vouchers and payment of bills and contracts as they mature through the month of July 2023, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioners Brodsky? Yes. Rothman?
Yes.
DePlacido?
Yes.
Vaughn? Brown?
Yes.
Weingrad?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Capone? Yes. Carswell?
Yes.
Spiegelman?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Schreiber?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Vice President Vahey?
Yes.
President Hecker?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Back to you, Commissioner Weingrad.
Thank you. Next item, FC 02060823, motion to approve the Amendment 2 to the OpenGov Inc. software agreement with the Township of Abington, and I so move.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded twice. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
And that would conclude the Finance Committee agenda for this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. We will now open it up for public comment on matters of general township business. Anyone who is present and wishes to speak, please come forward. As well.
Hello, everyone. Shamika Brown, Maple Avenue. I just wanted to take a quick moment to say how proud I am of Reverend Commissioner Jeffrey Brown. I am overwhelmed by your dedication and service to community, and this position is for you because you will lead with integrity and you will serve well. So well done.
Maybe you should thank the comments, not me. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to come forward?
Okay. It has been close to 2 years that I have spent attempting to clear Abington of commercial blight. Commissioners, your continued inaction has allowed commercial businesses and apartment owners to further destroy Abington. Nothing has been done. Issuing these meager citations to Raymore and Flanagan for years of environmental damage is ridiculous. Your complete lack of concern for dealing with commercial blight is appalling. Over 730 people signed petitions asking commissioners and Mr. Manfredi to make maintenance a priority. The focus on land development is destroying Abington. In September 2022, the petition was being reviewed. What happened with the petition? I don't know. I haven't been informed. I only know it was being reviewed. I want to go to 100 York Apartments. 100 York Apartments has 588 apartments. It is, I believe, the largest complex in Abington. The renters are living in gigantic amounts of mold, heat, water, and electrical problems. The huge building has no sprinkler system. With all the political power in this room, much more could be done. Instead, you want to line Old York Road and other areas with more poorly designed apartment buildings. This shows a complete disregard for people. Manipulating the zoning to benefit real estate developers is a betrayal of everyone. Abington and the entire vicinity is saturated with thousands of apartments. These apartments that open into the street are designed by the most greedy developers. Commissioners, you are all enthusiastically pushing these apartments into congested areas, including the Fairway. To further help real estate developers, you are using grants paid for with public funds to allow developers to save money on sidewalk costs. To entice renters who are not familiar with the area, you've labeled the dangerous street area of the Fairway a family bike path. One side of this family bike path has 28 large sewer grates and 21 driveways to maneuver past with the family. Do not consider a playground next to a train station, please. Governor Shapiro brought many of you to leadership positions here in Abington. He's certainly aware of the destructive decisions being made here, forcing our good, largely democratic community that voted for you to accept a very low standard of living is despicable. The comprehensive plan will destroy entire neighborhoods. Jessica Carswell, Ward 10, has made no effort to notify ward residents of the loss of zoning rights that are possible and the up to 236 apartments that you've planned on the Target complex or nearby. In fact, the
Ms.
nearby
Cobell,
neighbors
please conclude your comments. You're at your
do
time.
not know that Jessica Carswell is their commissioner. Governor Shapiro has done an enormous disservice by ushering many of you to leadership roles in Abington. Now you're in lockstep, bringing low-quality housing, congestion, blight, and the destruction of an entire neighborhood.
Ms. Cobell, your time has expired. Thank you.
What has happened to my petition?
Your time has expired. Please sit down.
It's being reviewed almost a year later.
Is there anyone else present that wishes to speak? Here we go.
Hi, Lisa Malin, Meadowbrook, Ward 1. Mine is along the same line. Abington is mainly residential with some institutional and some open space. And basically in the draft of Chapter 4 of the Comprehensive Plan, you state that these three land uses represent a higher share of land than is typical in the county. And they represent some of the things that Abingtonians say they like most about the township: pleasant residential neighborhoods, excellent schools and healthcare services, and an ample parks and open space system with extensive green space. And then when you move to Chapter 13 of the draft of the comprehensive plan, under existing land use, Abington is 98% built out, and little undeveloped land remains to accommodate any new development. Therefore, most future development in the township will consist of infill development. So that's a direct quote from Chapter 13 of the draft of the comprehensive plan. Given that Abingtonians like the residential area they live in, and 98% of Abington is built out, the comprehensive plan should focus on the commercial districts. I think most will agree that redevelopment is needed and would improve the look, retail, and entertainment desirability. But mixing other uses in residential spaces should never be considered. So I think there are things that can be pulled out that are good to do as part of a comprehensive plan. It's just that there's a place to do that and a way to do that that doesn't interfere with how people within Abington and have residents in Abington enjoy their living. Thank you.
Thank you. Others present?
My name is Mike Tobin from Kirkwood Avenue. The vision, the comprehensive plan is something we all need to live with. Citizens, the commissioners, everything like that. I don't feel, nor do a lot of other people feel, the citizens have gotten a good voice in writing this plan. There's a lot of good parts of the plan, no doubt. There's a lot of issues in the plan that need to be fixed. Affordable housing, rents are out of control, generational wealth, like the speaker that was on earlier that he talked about. This plan does not fix that. This plan does nothing to do that. As a landlord, I love the plan because it's going to drive rents up. I mean, that's basically what it does, okay? So there's a large group of people, and many of them are here, that are real passionate about this topic, all right? And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that people want to be involved. But we need you guys to really look at this plan. The citizens do not want it in its present format. It doesn't fix the problems that the plan says it's going to fix. It's impossible. There's no way it can do it. The citizens, we are not against development. We are against overdevelopment. And we all got to admit, our township is pretty well developed. So we really need to take a look at this plan. Does it fix the issues that are in the plan? No, the answer is no. Building more high-rent buildings does not help people that are having trouble paying rent. Building more high-rent houses or duplexes or whatever does not help somebody own a house. It does not fix that. Building a house, minimum, a lot's going to cost $100,000. Building costs are about $125,000 or $125 a square foot. A typical 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, you might have 1,200 square feet, something like that. You do the math. It is not affordable. It is not affordable to a lot of people in this room. It's not affordable to a lot of young people. So we need the commissioners put the brakes on this plan, get some community involvement, and the areas that are good, keep it. But the areas that stink in this plan need to be fixed. When you guys heard that Kevin Burton, I think that was his name, the firefighter on Zoom, what did you hear in his voice? What did you hear him saying? You heard fear, you heard stress over this plan. This plan is creating nothing but problems. For people that are really passionate about it, it's creating problems. We need you guys to fix it with our help. We want to be involved in it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tobin. Come forward.
My name is Ellen Stark. I live in Glenside on Sylvania Avenue, and in all fairness of transparency, I will be running for Commissioner of Ward 13. I got involved in this comprehensive plan because somebody mentioned it to me, and I wanted to look into it. I find my other folks that have spoken very well towards it. I think it is a call to action for the commissioners to look at this plan more closely. My understanding is that it's a draft plan, and it's an updated plan from the 2007 plan. So I'm going to read something from the 2007 plan that concerns me. And this is from Aqua, and it talks about water and where the water comes from and how we have it. Increasing water consumption by residents and businesses and the apparent trend in the region toward a hotter, drier climate may significantly affect future regional water supply. Thus, it is imperative for all municipalities within the region to control water usage. It is highly unlikely that future development within Abington Township will have any measurable degree, any impact on the water supply. After all, the township is over 97% developed and lacks large parcels of unused land for large-scale development or industrial growth. With good water supply and distribution system, Abington's future looks bright. Still, it is important that members of the Delaware Valley region, Abington Township, should continue to stress conservation and prevent overusage of this precious resource. I'm not sure what has changed since 2007. Have we found another source of water other than the Chamonix Creek? So if we're going to build the way that this comprehensive plan is coming by with more apartment buildings, more density, you want more people, you want to change the zoning so that we can have more density at different places, I think we have to consider our water usages. There's another point I want to make, and I'll make it quickly. My time is almost up. We need to address the issue of the fire departments. We have wonderful fire houses, and it's all volunteers, And that well is drying up. We don't have enough volunteers. We're not going to have enough volunteers. And we're going to be faced with the issue of having to hire firefighters for our township. We are now using paid firefighters from another municipality to do runs during the day. There's nothing in either plan, the strategic plan or the comp plan, that addresses that. The cost of having to man a fire department for this township is going to be exorbitant. Thank you. I appreciate your time, and I hope you take my considerations into play.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward? After her, sure.
So Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook, and Mr. Clark needs to listen first to the objection. He's ruling before he even understands it. I have been around long enough to know that a nominee is made in a meeting where people then can go research that nominee before he's installed. And many other things happen that way. And so what I'm saying is our speaking rights are gone if we don't even know who's being nominated. The nominees weren't on the agenda. So, I don't even understand how you can't recognize our speaking rights leaving. So I'm going to talk about the comprehensive plan because we have very little time to get this across to you, but I thank you for extending the time. And by the way, I want to welcome Commissioner Brown, okay? And this has nothing to do, the Brown family is wonderful. I do have concerns about how many positions. You're becoming royalty, I think. Are you keeping the position at the school? Are you keeping at the high school? Do you not have a position? No, as equity officer? No, okay.
That's Dr. Chris Brown.
Oh, that's it. Okay, so that was just something I heard. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate that. And the Brown family is a wonderful family. So I don't want anything that I'm saying here to have anything to do except speaking rights, not twist it around to me seeing something negative about the Brown family, okay, who has really served. So we want to just say a few things very quickly. The first premise, the vision of the commissioners should reflect the residents. You've heard that again and again. I really did not hear of any town halls or see any newsletters filled with the details in the comprehensive plan. Your people don't know, and you know they don't know. And you're not holding meetings or telling them what's happening in that comprehensive plan. Second premise, apartments and density are neither needed nor desired. You've heard that over and over again. Once it reflects the view of the people and we get the plan right, it should supersede other plans that were made earlier that said density around train stations is great. Even in our zoning, it says that. But once we fix this plan to make sure it represents the people, those other plans should be reviewed and that should be fixed too. And one of the reasons is because that vision in those plans will be used to, Commissioner, am I on your computer?
I don't need to look at you to hear you.
Ah, okay. Can you read and hear me too?
Ms. Lehman,
Okay, good.
please conclude
Okay.
your comments.
Yeah, so let me just finish this one thought about the comprehensive plan creates a vision, as do the other plans. These visions are being used to approve text and map amendments, so they are almost as good as writing zoning, even though zoning is not being written in the plan. That vision will be used to approve zoning that way. And that's the part that I think even some of you don't understand, but that the public certainly needs to understand. So please hold town halls and get them filled in. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, did you want to come forward?
Good evening. My name is Charles Boss. I live at 1156 Highland Avenue. It'll be my 30th year there this August in Ward 11. I have a few things. The first time I've done this, so I have a few things that I wanted to talk to. One is some of these folks are making very excellent points with the comprehensive plan. What brought me to review the comprehensive plan lately was the fact that I'm looking at some traffic concerns I have with respect to the traffic on Highland Avenue. But in looking at the comprehensive plan, I noticed that it didn't seem to bracket impact to the municipal services. It didn't seem to bracket the impact and cost to like, sewage or to like the police department or to the fire department. It's just, but it looks like it's wanting to increase density, but, which then would result in impact to even schools. So I think that's seriously missing. And I did hear something tonight that kind of actually concerned me was the fact that, hey, we're going to push off that plan to a later date, but no details what that later date is. It's like, that boggles my mind. I spent 35 years working as a civilian for the Department of Defense. I've commissioned a lot of studies. I was the head of the infrastructure for the last 20 years. It's just, usually there's a poem and milestone set with the A&E that's doing your plan. Usually that's set in stone, like there's review time, it's iterative, and I just don't understand how something this important, which it's important to all of us, it's just handed that arbitrarily. So, with respect to the plan, I'll wrap that part up in the fact that actually I think it's missing just bracketing the costs and impacts to the services of Abington, I'd like to touch on something that the firefighter Burton said. It's like, I moved here 30 years ago from DC, but originally I'm a person that grew up in Philadelphia. I moved in Abington because it was a great town. I'll be honest with you, it's headed the wrong way. It's just, I don't know what to tell you folks. It's just, I am not long for Abington, unfortunately. It's like, which is a sad thing to say. It's just, you folks are taking it in the wrong direction. I've been, battling it out with the police department right now relative to the speeding on the 1100 block of Highland. You could throw a rock at my house, I could throw a rock at this place from where I live. It's like, the right to know request or the Sunshine Act process is broken. I know the FOIA system. I've dealt with FOIAs in the DOD. It's like just, you folks treat it like it's not a real thing. I don't understand that. It's just, it's kind of disappointing. I brought up the fact that there's obviously increased traffic and increased speeding in 1100 block of Highland there. It's like, and by, pulling teeth, it's like I get information piecemeal from the police department, and it's just by their own admission, just in studies they've done, actually traffic surveys they've done in just March. In one study they're saying, hey, 3% of the cars are only enforceable action speeding violations. Well, 3% of 15,000 cars over 2.5 days is a lot. It's just 3% is 198 enforceable actions per day. You know, they could be literally pulling over 198 cars a day just because it's an enforceable action. That was the one survey. And the other survey was 7%, and that 7% is 455 enforceable actions. This is just on Highland Avenue here. Yet, they don't feel it's a problem. It's just, you know, so your plan, you know, is just going to increase density. These problems aren't going away. Your police department's already kind of stretched to the limit. Your fire department's stretched to the limit. You know, I'm sure wastewater's a problem. No, and I managed, like I said, infrastructure. It's like, you know, for 20 years. I think, honestly, I think the commissioners, you really need to get your act together, really need to formalize this plan of action and milestones for your comprehensive plan. And I really do think you need to socialize it. You know, it's like, you know, when a commissioner sends actually some, you know, informed information relative to actually, you know, shredding events like that. It's like, but you get, you know, folks need to really get engaged to find out what you're all up to. You know, and I'm not saying you're up to bad stuff. I'm just saying it's like, hey, you're working behind the scenes. It's like you're not, you know, it's not transparent, and it's like it's disappointing. So.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Manfredi, do you wish to say something?
Shall I wait for the remaining comments, or would you like?
Either way. What's your preference?
Let the public
All right.
speak first.
Come forward.
I'm Greg Bukowski from Lenore Road in Meadowbrook. I'm just going to read this so I stay within the time.
Sure.
After going to the comprehensive plan meeting from last week and looking at the state's requirements for developing that, I kind of understand that the comprehensive plan, particularly the future land use section, right? It's not intended to be such a specific document. It's supposed to be kind of a guiding principle, zoning and ordinance, or the more specific items, right? But in that case, the comprehensive plan has a lot of very generic, terminology in it, which offers a high latitude for interpretation. Some examples are strong misuse components, guided by conceptual master plans, gradual hierarchy of land uses. I mean, any one of us will have different interpretations of what that means. And when we're all gone, and the next group of people in, they'll have different interpretations. So, that kind of leaves a lot of unpredictability as to what the future holds. I think that's what a lot of people here are trying to express. I think replacing that, making those more quantitative if possible, adding metrics and goals that can be measured on the plan itself, to say the 2007 plan, how did it work out, right? What did we meet? What didn't we meet? And how do we learn from that? One of the parts, kind of back on the predictability item, is if people are moving into a certain area or even a business, right? Stability and predictability are benefiting them, right? Businesses don't want unpredictability. They want to know what's going to be happening, just like residents don't want unpredictability. If I'm going to move into a house next to a car dealer, I'm taking some risk because I don't know what the next land use will be. If this plan puts some boundaries on that, that gives the person better chance of making a more educated decision, right? A different aspect of that is, the fact that there's, in the more residential areas where there's the possibility of having unpredictability, where 1209 Rydell is a perfect example, where folks that live there now probably never expected, something like a long-term care to be right in their backyard. So those are the sort of things I think that need to be more structured and more confined so that people have a better idea what to expect. Because, everyone's role that makes these decisions is virtually volunteer, right? There's some paid township employees and so forth. But, it's the stakeholders, the township residents, that are left with the decisions after everyone's gone. If someone gets, pushed out of office or gets a new job, they don't have to live with the decisions they made while they were here. So we're just looking to see if, that kind of objectivity can be brought to that plan.
Thank you.
Laura Lehman, interrupting again on the Sunshine Act, and please listen to what I'm saying before you rule anything. So I did see you say, Mr. Manfredi, do you want to answer that? And I want you to know that the public appreciates when he answers and we get a chance to respond if he got it wrong or misunderstood what we said.
What is your objection
But
to the
my
Sunshine Act?
objection is when we speak and you then have Mr. Manfredi undo our words and say they
Nothing
didn't know what they were
happened. So
talking
how is
about,
this an
and
objection,
here's what the
Solicitor
truth
Clark?
is.
To the Sunshine Act, it's just the speaker trying to get up repeatedly.
No, it's not. No, it's not. The Sunshine Act allows you to object to perceived violations of your speaking right. All right, so let me explain that. I'll explain it. The perceived violations of your speaking rights, Robert's Rules of Order specifically says that if somebody speaks and somebody else comments on that, you get a chance to rebut that if they've undone what you said.
There's been no commentary
This is not
this
happening
evening.
here. That's a violation of our speaking rights. You're undoing our speech. Thank you.
Solicitor Clark.
Nowhere in the Sunshine Act is Robert's Rules of Order referenced. So the speaker is saying it's a violation because Robert's Rules has been violated. So this objection has absolutely no basis.
Robert Jasanowski, Ward 3, Irvin Road. I came here to listen to what's going on with the all the building that they're proposing all over the place and everything. But one of the things that shocked me when I came in the front door is our flagpole out there. I thought that the flagpole was supposed to be for official flags, and I wanted to find out what other flags we could put up in there. Was there for breast cancer awareness, for other types of events or whatever? I go to all the Home Depots and the other stuff because their flags are ragged, and I've always have respect for the flag. And I'm just wondering what the rules are for why other flags other than official Pennsylvania, Abington, or U.S. flags can be flying on the flagpole. And if you could answer how this happens and how I can apply to put whatever flag I want to put on. I want to have Bob's week, flag of the week there or something like that. What process do we go through to go and fly a flag on a flagpole?
Solicitor Clark, do you want to address the recent Supreme Court ruling?
Sure. The township and the Board of Commissioners are permitted to fly the American flag, the POW flag, the flag of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and any other flag that they determine would be an exercise of their free speech rights. As long as the township is not opening up the flag to any individual groups, it doesn't have to, it can limit it to just the flags that the Township Board of Commissioners wishes to fly.
So if a Board of Commissioner, one of the commissioners on here wanted to fly a flag of their liking, they could fly that? I mean, I'm trying to understand the rules. That's what I'm understanding.
The Board of Commissioners.
Right, the Board of Commissioners,
The
so
majority of the board would have to.
it has to be a majority of the-
Would have to be in an agreement that that's the flag that they wanted to fly.
Okay. So, okay. I just didn't know that was the rules. Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Malika Davidson. I am an Abington Township resident. I am an informed Ward 10 resident. I live on Bacchus Avenue. First, I want to say congrats to Jeffrey Brown and welcome to the commission. I know that you will work hard in what you do. I want to thank all of you because I know that what you do is not a tireless job. It is a thankless job on some days, but it is a job that we all need you to do. In terms of the plan, I just ask that you think about it and be intentional. I am a resident who is stuck in that generation of having children and also having a parent. My father is 96. Finding housing for him was virtually impossible. The only housing that I was able to find that he could afford was on Horace Avenue, that was a duplex, that had a rent that he could afford to pay and that I could assist him with, while still raising my 5 children and my husband, having my husband as well. I have children in every aspect of this school district. I have a child going to kindergarten, I have a 7th grader, and I was blessed to watch my daughter graduate from high school last night. She is off to college. Woohoo! I ask that you be intentional in knowing what we do. We're a diverse community. We are a community of people of all races and all economic aspects, right? But if you overdevelop an area, our current school system will suffer as a result. Our high school is overcrowded, our middle school is overcrowded, and our elementary schools will soon be overcrowded again. We recently just took the 6th grade out. We'll be back at that level if we keep growing in the rate that we're growing. So I just ask that you be intentional with it. I ask that you, when you're looking at these plans and when you're making these decisions, recognize that it is the community that you live in, it's the community that we all live in, and it's a community that we want to keep, but we want it to grow. But we want it to grow with purpose, with intent, and continuing what we have while still moving forward in a positive direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward before we turn to Zoom?
Hi, Fran Early, Ward 6. I've been in Abington since 1970, and for the last 28 years, I've lived in North Hills. I've seen a couple commissioners had to vacate their position because they moved on to bigger pastures. Fortunately, Mr. Brown has elected to make his pasture bigger, and he applied for the position. And I'm very glad that he was nominated, and I look forward to working with Mr. Brown, because if it's going North Hills, will continue to be a great place to live, operate a business, and in my case, retire there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manfredi. We will get to you 1 second, for sure.
Do you want me to address a lot of the comments that were made, or do you not?
I think we'll just move on.
Okay.
All right, please come forward.
Hi, my name's Chris Brock. I'm Ward 7 or 5-7. Ward 7, he knows. Ward 7, I live over on Guernsey Avenue. I was at the comprehensive plan meeting. Mr. Manfredi said that he wanted to hear more about what I thought about accountability structures. So I thought that I would speak to that a little bit. I live on Guernsey Avenue, like I said. I live right next to the Metaplex. They just built that. I remember I was at the meeting for that, and they said that one of the things they were going to build was a little like public space, like public plaza there as part of making it clear that they wanted to be part of the community. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but it's bad. This is a little square concrete, steel benches. It looks like a bus stop, right? But no bus stops there, so it's the worst of both worlds. Looks like a bus stop, but you don't even get a bus out of it. Since then, nobody has contacted anybody, as far as I know, about whether or not these guys did what they said they were going to do, or they did a good job with what they said they were going to do. There has been no connection between what they did and anything that sort of sticks to them and in a way that makes them accountable. I mean, it cannot be my job to follow these guys around to every development meeting and say, hey, you know, by the way, no matter what they tell you is going to happen, they're bad at their job, or, I mean, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, that they just did a bad job and not that they were deliberately dishonest. I can't be my job to do that. I've got other stuff to do. There has to be some system that not only is in place to actively solicit information from residents in an area, an active engagement of commentary, that actively considers this commentary. You know, there are some communities, for example, that have public advocates or public ombudsmen who have the specific job of reviewing this information and presenting it to residents to make sure that all of their concerns are addressed. And then that information has to be archived and it has to be connected to the people who are responsible for it, because without that, then there isn't any functional accountability. I've lost my train of thought. The thing that I see the most anxiety that people have about the comprehensive plan is that there are good ideas and good broad strokes in it in some places that many people agree with. But the problem is that people have a lot of mistrust that when it comes to specific projects, that the systems that are in place to protect the community will not allow those specific projects to address those needs. And those specific projects have to be part of a rigorous accountability system that, unfortunately, is probably going to be costly. It is probably going to be time-consuming. It is almost certainly going to be tedious, because in a free and democratic society, doing things the right way takes time and it costs money, and it is often tedious because you have to hear from people that you don't always necessarily want to hear it from, like me. This is something that has to be done. It cannot be shortcutted. Because anytime this process is shortcutted, it breeds distrust, which only creates more objections and slows everything down. The only way to smoothly speed up any kind of process of improving any part of this township is by rigorously adhering to these processes so that people can trust them when they see comprehensive plans or broad stroke plans about what the future of their community is going to look like. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn to Zoom. Is there someone in the back? I'm sorry, I couldn't see you behind the monitor.
I'm Karen Milovich. I'm in Drew Rothman's district, Zone District 3. I live across the street from the Huntington Valley Shopping Center. We've been there 30 years, and we've watched our neighborhood go downhill. It was a very nice little shopping center. It was very sleepy. There was a limited amount of anchor stores that were open all hours, and now it's anything goes. It's zoned or rezoned to have the foot traffic of the mall. If you live in Hollywood, you can guarantee that you're going to get hit by a car. You can guarantee that you'll never sleep, because at 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, when people are trying to get over to the Starbucks and someone's occluding their way, that they're going to honk their horn. It's very loud. It's very noisy. We hear motorcycles. It's got 5 or 6 drive-throughs at this point, and people just, any which way goes, it looks like a hurricane tracking map if you try to look at people driving around there. To add another apartment, and we just watched the lawyer for this complex wanting to put another fast food restaurant right there with a house right across the street, homes right across the street. And they said they really didn't need to talk to the citizens. But I think by rights they should have. We should have had notification. We've never had any notification of any zoning changes. And I think if you're going to ask them to be stewards of our community, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for our citizens. There's a church, there's a school, there's a lot of young families. I think it's going to be very detrimental. And I please do ask that you don't make corporate landlords stewards of our future, because we have a lovely neighborhood, and I know Drew tries hard, and I know all of you try hard. We'd like to keep a nice neighborhood with just different kinds of people, happy people, but you know, having people drive down our street at 100 miles an hour and honk at people and be very aggressive. It's bad as it is, and I think if you add anything more there, which I'm sure they're going to do, but if you add, you know, several hundred people, it's going to be a nightmare. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Good evening.
Natalie Powell, 1920 Fleming Avenue, and I've lived in Abington Township, come July 4th, 73 years.
Wow.
I got you beat. So my first question to the board is about procedure. I haven't been to a board meeting for quite a while. The last one was concerning the mall coming into our backyard. And it was run very differently in the past. People had more time to speak, and they were able to ask questions right after the presentation of information. We had no doomsday speaker clock. Not at the end of the meeting, after some time has passed from the subject in which we would like to inquire, I watched a video of the last meeting, which seemed to be a question and answer setting. After watching the tape, I was impressed with many of the questions and concerns that the citizens asked about. Many of their questions and issues were also mine. However, I'm fairly new to this public meeting, and I'm not clear on procedures. It was set up like it was supposed to be a question and answer session, but they weren't answering the questions. They often told the speaker to put their questions and concerns in writing without answering the questions or the concerns. My question to you, the board, is when does the public get to hear the answers to these written statements? They were here, they heard them, but they had no answers. Are they posted on the website? Do you send out informational mailings to the residents? How do I get to hear your responses to their written inquiries?
Would you like an answer to that?
As soon as I finish, because my
Okay.
doomsday clock is going down.
Okay.
Their questions were good ones that required a response. But as the public who attended listened to and watched the taping and heard the question but did not hear the answer, it makes it a really big waste of everyone's time and extremely unproductive for all who participated that night. So how, when, or where do we hear your responses? And I still have some time, so I want to continue on my second one.
Okay.
My second concern is the fact that you call this a comprehensive plan, but build your whole premise around one singular idea, building multiple housing units around transportation hubs that mainly service people who travel into the city. not taking into account most of these hubs are in the most concentrated, populated areas. No explanation of how you arrived at this wonderful idea or how it benefits the citizens that are already here. No evidence of studies done or research given on long-term effects of this plan on the people living in this township. How does it affect traffic, schools, infrastructure, our township parks, taxes? These are major elements that need to be investigated before finalizing any kind of comprehensive plan. No mention of bringing in light industry and businesses that will help to bring the township additional tax dollars and jobs, of which, as a township, we are sorely lacking. Quite frankly, as a teacher who had to grade many million-dollar projects, student projects, I give this presentation, comprehensive presentation, a D. It needs more research done, and it needs to be comprehensive. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like an answer.
Sure. Manager Manfredi?
Thank you, President Hecker. I'm going to answer most of what was said. So, first of all, as I did at our administrative information session, I want to thank everyone, because this is what it's all about. This is what the Board of Commissioners had in mind when they expanded and allowed us to have such meetings like the administrative and information session. It is set up to be a back and forth. So to specifically answer your question about the Q&A and when are those answers, you may have come late to the meeting. Okay. No, this meeting was when, at the beginning of the meeting, President Hecker. All right, so what he announced was the postponement of that meeting to a later date because the interest that this has generated, the commissioners and the staff, my staff, as well as our professionals, want to come up with very thoughtful answers. So we're moving that meeting back so that we can continue to have additional comments and questions come in and have the professionals answer them. So the meeting was meeting its purpose. It was an additional session. I'd like to pull something up because Ms. Lehman made a comment earlier, and she's correct. It should take 2 years to develop a comprehensive plan. And I think it's important for everyone to understand, led by former Commissioner Thompson, just how many meetings we've had, how much work that citizen volunteers that sat on other committees put into the nuts and bolts of what we are now beginning to take that working product, the sausage, and start the public information process, start the public engagement. As we said that evening, this plan is not concluded. It's just beginning. That group of citizen volunteers that served on the Shade Tree Commission, the EAC, the Economic Development Committee, the Planning Commission, all of those volunteers and general public worked with a planner as well as with Commissioner Thompson to develop this. We have had numerous public meetings, numerous workshops, and if you go to the Vision 2035 site, you'll see how much time that these citizen volunteers, people from the community, put in. The meeting started in September of 2019, and for those who remember, yes, there were breaks. We had a little thing called the coronavirus. So it did throw off our schedules. It did wreak havoc with how we can meet. We had to adapt. We had to do things virtually. But over a period of time, beginning in January 2019 through January of 2023, it did continue to move. When there were breaks, those breaks occurred because the commissioners who sit here and often don't defend themselves or say anything wanted to be responsive. One of the reasons that they expanded to have all types of different public information sessions is so that we can hear what you have to say. We are taking in what you have to say, and we are going to continue to have those meetings. It is highly unlikely that the comprehensive plan, I'm not sure where this is coming from, it's done and it's a fait accompli and it's going to be finished in the next couple of months. What's finished is the work of the team that developed it. Then it paused, and it paused because there was a lot of commentary about what was in it. In particular, that map that had the circles drawn around it that caused so much concern, valid concern. So the Board of Commissioners instructed me, pull back was the term, I believe, Ms. Lehman. We did, we pulled back. It was pulled back for a reason, though. It was pulled back to allow the public to have comments such as this, and all the other sessions that we're going to have. So please look at 2035 vision. Look at all the public meetings that had, the videos are there that had them, where they had the public workshops, where they went out and had the transportation survey and maps. It's all there. All the documents that were created, it's all there. Please read them. We know that people see those documents because they came prepared at that information session to talk about it. Again, another valid point Ms. Lehman made. All of these plans, correct, the strategic plan, the stormwater plan, things that we're working on administratively, the pavement management plan, the recreation park and open space plan. Absolutely. You're going to see a presentation at next month's work session on the work, again, of citizen volunteers who care about recreation and parks. And they've been working and having many public meetings. If you go to the website, you'll see that. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, please do. Our newsletter goes out the first of every month. So if you sign up for it, you'll see various pieces of information. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the website, the TV channel. There are a number of platforms that we utilize to communicate. So what we ask is continue the comments, continue to participate, continue to bring your information to us, and we're happy to address them.
Thank you, Manager Manfredi. No.
Again, I don't envy what you're doing. Trying to get consensus it's impossible. I applaud what you're trying to do, but I think the information and transparency just doesn't seem to be
So you've had your opportunity to speak. You've had the opportunity. If you want to say something, you can say it after the meeting. We've been through this repeatedly of all the things that the township is doing to address these concerns.
No, nothing
We're not
has
going to do
been
this
done.
here. Please sit down.
Okay? Nothing has been done to address these concerns.
That's not
Because
true.
if you look down the road, it looks the same.
It's not true, Ms.
Please,
Cabell. Please sit down.
citations and violations, the same.
Please sit down.
I'll take photos after photos. It goes on for years now. Nothing has been addressed, or it would look better.
Please sit down.
No improvement. What happened to the petition?
Ms. Cabell.
Do your jobs, then we'll be happy.
Wow. We're going to turn to Zoom.
Do your job. You don't do your jobs. It's obvious.
Richard Beef, you're unmuted.
Mr. Baith?
Hi, can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, sorry. Yes, hi, I'm Richard Beef. I live at 1719 Edge Hill Road in Ward 1. Good evening, everyone, and thank you. A couple of things, and I appreciate what Mr. Manfredi said. I participated in one of those public sessions, and I was unhappy when I left it because I felt like the way it was hosted and some of the way the questions are posed were kind of leading in a direction that wasn't aligned with what my vision of the township is. So, and some of the people in my group seemed to be aligned with what the person who was hosting it was doing. So I kind of felt like I was in a different township, but that aside, I am concerned about process, and I certainly have my own vision or preference. I'll just speak on that a little bit. On process, more town halls, more community discussion, more meetings, such as we had a week ago, longer periods for public comment, recorded and posted commentary from these sessions on the township website. If that's happening, I'm happy. I'll take your word for it. On procedure, more transparency on data. Where's this data coming from? Because data is very easy to skew when you have something that you want to support and it doesn't always align with truth. So I'm a little bit skeptical on the data that we've been told is what this township is trying to grow towards on population growth, et cetera. I am very skeptical about being told what you think we are telling you we want. So we want to be sure that you are hearing what we want. Our vision, my vision anyway, is a community that improves the districts, the commercial districts that are dying or dead. I don't want these districts to grow in footprint. I want them fixed where they are. So do not enlarge and encroach upon our residential neighborhoods with areas that you're trying to fix by making them bigger. My vision is that I moved to this community 5 years ago because I wanted to live in a primarily single-family home community with a lot of green and open space, yet close to the city. I would like that to be preserved. I don't want our single-family community to start becoming a community of doubles and triples and, God forbid, multi-family housing blocks. My vision is that you support what this township is, and don't tell us that we want to be something else, something more urban, more dense. Affordable housing is not found with more Willow Grove Station style buildings. And just a couple of other comments. I'm an architect. I manage master planning teams. I'll tell you this about master planning teams and the designer. We answer to the developer who pays our fee, and they answer to the tenants that will pay them the highest rents that they think they can get within the curated lifestyle and demographic that they are imagining and targeting. And finally, one little personal thing, and President Hecker, if you can hear me.
Yes.
I live on the corner of Welsh and Edge Hill, and I think I've written to you on a couple occasions about the issue with the traffic and the large trucks that encroach on my property and clip the light poles. Actually damaged one recently on the opposite side. So in 1 year, my 4-year-old will be entering kindergarten at Overlook. Yet there's no safe way for me to get him across Edge Hill to the school. In fact, my backyard neighbor who currently has, on Welsh, who currently has a kindergartner, they have to kind of scurry across Welsh in the middle of rush hour to get to the other side so they can get to the protected crossing point.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it to you, what can be done so that my son can safely cross Edge Hill Road or Welsh to get to the protected crossing?
Well, we could have the Highways Department and Police Department come out and take a look at that. I mean, Commissioner Carswell worked on a project for the residents of Acorn to create that kind of safe crossing. And it is, I mean, you're in Ward 1, although you're as close to Ward 10 as you are to Ward 1. So we should definitely look into that and come up with a way to make that safer. Happy to work with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you for your comments.
Ross A., you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Ross Abel, Upland Avenue, in the Noble Station area. First of all, welcome to Commissioner Brown. Glad to have you on board for our wonderful township. I'm glad to hear there's a lot of concern from residents around traffic calming. I appreciate that Adele's concerned about safety for our bicyclists on the fairway. And I'd encourage you all to look into the concept of Vision Zero. It's basically how we as communities can accomplish zero traffic fatalities using proven methods of traffic calming. So things like fun fouls, raised crosswalks, protected multi-use paths, especially with the rates of pedestrian fatalities increasing pretty drastically over the previous years, where for a long time our pedestrian deaths were going down. We're making big improvements. So while we've increased safety from within vehicles, as far as people being safe and dying with less frequency, our pedestrian deaths are skyrocketing with bigger vehicles, heavier vehicles. So I would encourage our board and township staff to investigate how we can empower the township to take concrete actions towards making our town safer for pedestrians, the disabled, the elderly. I'd also encourage our board and staff to attend. There's a yearly Vision Zero conference in Philadelphia that's organized by the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia. Also, that's open to any residents who are interested. As far as another thing I wanted to mention was I moved to where I did with my family near a train station in Noble. I was specifically interested in walkable access to mixed use areas like Jenkintown. I can get to my groceries, the pharmacy. Our area has a lot of mixed density, twins, row homes, also single family detached, and it's that diversity that attracted me to the area. So I would encourage people to be careful when you start to make claims about the township broadly and what it is to you. That's not what it is to everyone. And often those denser housing options are what makes things more affordable for people, because not everyone can afford a single family detached house. So I just wanted to note that, and also wanted to offer solidarity with the 100 York residents and continue supporting the township, strengthening your protection for renters like this. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Marlene Kessler.
Yes, hello, Marlene Kessler. I live on Lanphier Road in Crosswicks. In total, I've lived in Abington Township for about 30 years, raised my child there. She graduated from Abington High School. It was a wonderful experience. What I would like to address is the concept and the emphasis on the transit-oriented development. And I'm not seeing any statistics to support it. In fact, I'm seeing the opposite. Per your comp plan, so far in its present state, there are 27,731 Abingtonians who hold primary jobs. Most of these jobs are located in either Montgomery County at 40.7%, or Philadelphia at 29.9%. But that doesn't mean that they're working in Center City and have the regional rail as an option. According to SEPTA's statistics, regional rail ridership for 2021 was 74% below 2020 and 81% below pre-COVID. The projections they have so far for 2022 was that only 51% of what was pre-pandemic increased in ridership. And furthermore, the increase in crime is driving down ridership. Tuesday, in the Philadelphia Inquirer, Above the Fold was about the dangers and the concerns that SEPTA itself has, and that they're trying to find solutions to, but they don't have enough staff. The idea that residents in the suburbs will abandon their cars is highly unlikely, even if they work in Center City. How do the commissioners think we can do everything else that life requires? Grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, other general shopping without a car? People do not move to the suburbs to carry their groceries on a bus. Per the comprehensive plan, 28% of residents have one car and 50% have at least two. They can drive to the train if they desire, and yet ridership continues to go down. Therefore, the decline in ridership has nothing to do with the lack of apartments near the train stations. The suggested apartment developments will not increase ridership except to Center City, which is the only place SEPTA rails go. Philadelphia commercial real estate has a vacancy rate now of 11%, and it continues to decline, partially because remote work is on the rise and partially because of people's fear of crime. We can do better here in Abington. There's a lot to be fixed. Why don't we work on that before we look at anything else? And just as an aside, part of the infrastructure that is not getting the attention it deserves is the growth of electric cars, which are projected to be 40 or 50% of retail car sales in 2030. Not Vision 2035, 2030. This will cut down the carbon footprint. I only have 2 more sentences.
Okay.
Much more, and the apartments will increase our carbon footprint. This is not what anybody wants for Abington, and it's not even supported by the facts. That is what we're asking for. Just look at the statistics and make decisions based on that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Mike Thompson.
Good evening, everybody. I want to congratulate Commissioner Brown and wish him well in his future tenure, and I applaud his call to serve his community, and I wish him the best of luck. On the comprehensive plan tonight, I've heard a couple of things that kind of struck a chord with me. Somebody said that business likes predictability, and another commenter said that we should focus on commercial districts, both of which I agree with. And when we were working on the comprehensive plan, that was one of the things that we were really trying to address, was re-stimulating some of these commercial districts, and what's the best catalyst to do that. And that was what drove a number of those circles on the map that everybody has spoken about previously. The best way that we felt to stimulate and catalyze business in our commercial districts like North Hills or Keswick really was to bring in more residents, to increase density, to encourage mixed-use development in those areas so that we do have increased foot traffic, more walkability, more connectivity, and better streetscapes, less crime when there's more people on the street. The plan really does seek to activate these commercial districts, and I have not heard any other suggestions or comments that would really seek to reactivate those commercial districts. So I urge the Board of Commissioners to keep that fact in mind and to keep a focus on what we really need in this community, and that is to bring back districts like North Hills, Keswick Village, Ardsley, Crestmont, and reactivate those streetscapes. Another comment that I heard earlier was a comment about water, and that was a comment that was read directly from the 2007 comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan was written under International Building Code 2003, which was only the second iteration of the International Building Code, and that was a kind of a transition from VOCA. Since then, 16 years later, the building code has evolved significantly and has really encouraged efficiency in terms of energy consumption and water use consumption. We also have LEED, which is a sustainability rating system. We have WELL, which is another sustainability rating system, Green Globes, and that list goes on. The reason we rewrite these plans at least every 10 years, and in our case, every 16 years, is to take into consideration change that occurs in our society. And our building codes have become more efficient in the way they approach energy use and water consumption. And they've done a lot to encourage and adapt to the changing ways that our society lives and functions. So thanks for listening to me this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Viv Ab, you're unmuted. Viv, you need to unmute yourself. Jeanette DeMeo, you're unmuted.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
you hear
can.
me? Okay. Well, I agree with a lot of the comments that were said tonight in regard to the Economic Development Corporation and specifically Huntington Valley Shopping Center. Putting apartments on there would be, let's just say, not good. Fox Chase has already, on the other end of Huntington Pike, where it goes into Ron Street, they are putting up, I believe, a 5-story apartment building at the other end of what basically is a bottleneck during all rush hours, extending from Hollywood, all the way into Fox Chase and down Rawn Street, and also going down Oxford Avenue. You know, I lived there growing up in Rockledge, and my parents' house, you could run your finger along the door moldings and you would see the soot from car exhaust. But even if car exhaust eventually dissipates, we won't have as many fuel-driven cars. You are still going to have the long blocks of cars and gridlock, people trying to go an alternate way through the neighborhoods in order to take a shortcut to get into Rockledge. It will just be a mess. And not only that, putting apartments there as a way to, I know in the past it was mentioned that, oh, this would increase diversity, but first of all, paying the kind of rents that the developers would accept is hard enough on people. And then if you want to buy a home, you're never going to be able to do it. So, you know, we don't create a new tax base by people moving in here and buying existing housing. Another thing I have to say is I do live in McKinley, and this is a fairly diverse neighborhood, okay? Multi-ethnic and multi-racial, and maybe we should take a look at how that came to be. These are homeowners, and I think also allowing what is going on now, you know, corporations are buying up houses and renting them out, sometimes turning them into duplexes. I just don't see why Abington should participate in that. I know there is, at the federal level, there has been legislation that's been introduced to try to limit the power of these corporations to basically hoard you know, housing supply in a lot of communities, and hopefully they can do something about that. But for Abington to participate in that, I think is unfair to the residents and unfair to, you know, our children, grandchildren, who really can't afford to buy a house because a lot of single homes across the country are being bought up by these corporations and they're being rented out. So I think this, you know, putting up apartments in places where it's already too dense to have more population and pay for the varied infrastructure, school students paying the taxes for that, and water, especially now going into what may be years of drought, it's just not going to work, and I don't think Abington should take on that kind of problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. See if the...
Viv, you're unmuted.
Give it one more. Oh, there we go.
Viv, you may speak.
I don't think anybody's there at this point. Okay. That will then conclude public comment for this evening. And Commissioner Bowman, did you?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take a minute to thank Tom McEnany and the crew from the Public Works, the police departments, community policing, to help out in the cleanup of that difficult house in my ward. It was a protracted problem, and Tom has done a good job in satisfying the neighbors. And one other point, there was some mention about the fire departments. We support our fire departments. When they came to us and wanted to do a recruitment effort, we supported it. When they came to us and wanted to renovate their buildings, we supported it. Volunteerism is down across the country. And, you know, it's just one of those things.
Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.